Today, we're looking at a character profile that, honestly, completely redefines what it means to be an underdog. We're stepping into the universe of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Such a good universe to explore.
It really is, and we're specifically focusing on a man who looked at the fundamental, magical rules of his own world and just decided they didn't apply to him. We are talking about Toji Fushiguro.
Man, he is a phenomenal character study to dig into. We're pulling all our insights today directly from the comprehensive Jujutsu Kaisen fandom wiki.
Right.
And what stands out immediately is just the sheer scale of the structural disruption he represents,
Absolutely.
Because in a world where society is strictly tiered based on magical aptitude.
What they call cursed energy, right?
Yeah. Exactly, cursed energy. This is a guy who sits at the absolute bottom of the ladder.
And our mission for you today isn't just to, recount cool anime battles. I mean, they are cool, but we want to pull apart the mechanics of how he did it.
Yeah, how you conquer a system that's rigged against you from birth.
Okay, let's unpack this from the beginning. To really understand him, I feel like we have to look at the family he was born into.
You really do. You have to start with his bloodline. So he was actually born Toji Zenin.
Okay.
And the Zenin Clan is one of the elite aristocratic sorcerer families in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
To put it in perspective, their entire political, social, and financial power is based solely on inheriting powerful cursed techniques.
So it's everything to them.
Literally everything. Cursed energy is basically the electricity that runs their entire society.
Mm-hmm.
It dictates your actual worth as a human being.
So if you don't have it, you're practically invisible to them.
Exactly.
And Toji had zero. Not just a low amount, but absolutely nothing.
Right, which made him, honestly, worse than an outcast in his own home. The sources detailed just how horrific this marginalization was.
He's pretty dark.
Yeah, he wasn't simply ignored at family dinners. He was actively, brutally abused. The most chilling example is that his own family threw him into a disciplinary pit.
A pit.
Yeah, filled with grade 2 cursed spirits. And this was when he was just a child.
Okay, for someone maybe not super steeped in the lore of this world, how bad is a grade 2 cursed spirit?
Well, think of a grade 2 curse as the supernatural equivalent of an enraged silverback gorilla.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it takes elite specialized training in magical weapons for a grown adult to survive one. And the Zenin Clan threw a magicless child into a pit full of them.
That is just pure nightmare fuel. And, I mean, that incident is actually where he got the signature scar, right? The one on the right corner of his lip?
Yeah, that's the physical scar. But what's really fascinating here is the psychological foundation this sets up for him.
Right.
His entire worldview is forged in just violent rejection. He eventually leaves the clan, and his actions moving forward, like becoming an underground assassin.
Gambling, too.
Right, gambling heavily, specifically hunting sorcerers. These aren't just the actions of a guy trying to make a quick buck,
No, it's personal.
Very. They are rooted in a deep, fundamental dejection. He is systematically trying to spite the jujutsu world that deemed him completely worthless.
It's a total rejection of their reality, but there is a brief window where that actually changes for him.
Yeah, a really brief one.
He marries this seemingly wonderful woman. He even drops the Zenin name completely and takes her surname, becoming Toji Fushiguro.
Right.
And her influence, temporarily pulls him out of that darkness. He stops the gambling. He stops the assassinations. It's this tiny glimpse of a normal, peaceful life.
It is. It's a beautiful moment of stability, but, well, it's tragically short-lived.
Yeah.
The moment she dies, he loses that anchor. He just reverts to his cold, ruthless self. It's almost as if he believes he doesn't deserve the peace she gave him.
Which, brings up a massive logistical question for me. I have to push back here a bit.
Sure.
If he was a child completely devoid of cursed energy, how on earth did he survive a pit of supernatural silverback gorillas?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right, let alone grow up to become a professional assassin, literally known in the underground as the Sorcerer Killer. I mean, if he has zero magic, how is he killing elite wizards?
Well, you're hitting on the core paradox of his existence.
Yeah.
His greatest weakness, his lack of magic, was actually a supernatural superpower.
Okay.
It's this biological phenomenon in their universe called a heavenly restriction.
The power of absolute zero. Break down how that actually works, because it's kind of wild.
It is wild. So, in the logic of Jujutsu Kaisen, heavenly restrictions are these incredibly rare binding conditions placed on a person's body at birth.
Like a trade-off.
Exactly. It's nature's way of balancing a scale. You might be born with immense cursed energy, but in exchange, your physical body is super frail and sickly. But Toji is entirely unique because his scale broke in the complete opposite direction. He is the only known case in history where a heavenly restriction eradicated a person's cursed energy completely.
Down to 0. And nature compensated him for that absolute loss.
In a really terrifying way, honestly. The trade-off for having absolute 0 magical energy is that his physical body was sharpened to the absolute pinnacle of human potential. His 5 senses are so hyper-refined that even without a drop of magical energy, he can interact with curses just through elevated physical perception.
Wait, so if he can't sense their magical aura like a normal sorcerer, how is he tracking them?
By using sheer sensory input, it's crazy. He tracks elite sorcerers by their literal footprints.
Just looking at the ground.
Yeah, and the subtle shifts in air currents, even their physical odors. And he developed this immense physical resistance to curses simply because his body had to adapt.
Because he's blind to the magic otherwise.
Right. And because he has absolutely 0 cursed energy, he doesn't register on the magical radar that all sorcerers rely on to detect danger.
So it's like a stealth bomber operating in a world where every single military relies strictly on thermal radar. If you don't give off heat, you basically don't exist until the bombs drop.
That is precisely how he operates, yeah. He is the ultimate invisible man in a world completely obsessed with visibility.
Which is such a massive advantage.
Oh, huge. He can walk right through complex, high-level magical barriers without triggering a single alarm. Because, to the barrier's programming, there is literally nothing there to detect.
Okay, that makes total sense for defense, but offensively, there's still a gap here for me.
Okay, what do you mean?
If you're fighting sorcerers, you eventually have to hit them, right? And to kill a curse, you need a magical weapon, a cursed tool.
Correct.
But if you hold a highly magical weapon, wouldn't that act like a giant beacon, completely ruining the stealth bomber advantage?
It absolutely would, yeah. Carrying a cursed tool would immediately alert any competent sorcerer to his presence. So Toji came up with an incredibly grotesque but brilliant biological solution to mask the weapons.
I read this part in the source material, and it is so deeply unsettling.
It is entirely unsettling.
Yeah.
So he tamed a specialized cursed spirit, establishing a master-servant relationship with it. He essentially treats it like a pet.
A very weird pet.
Yeah. And this specific curse has a bizarre ability.
Yeah.
It can store vast amounts of objects within its own body.
So it's basically a walking inventory system.
Yes. But to keep the curse's energy hidden from radar, Toji forces the creature to shrink itself down, and he literally swallows it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he keeps it alive inside his own stomach. As he puts it in the lore, an invisible man's going to have invisible guts.
Because his own physical flesh, which has 0 cursed energy, acts like a lead box blocking radiation.
You got it. The absolute lack of energy in his body perfectly insulates the magical energy of the weapons stored inside his stomach.
That is just wow.
Right. So when he needs to strike, he reaches into his own mouth, pulls the curse up, and extracts whatever weapon the situation requires.
It is so disgusting, but I mean, you can't deny the tactical genius there. And the arsenal he pulls out of this thing is wild. He uses conventional, non-magical weapons like standard handguns and normal katanas for pure stealth kills. But when he has to fight high-level jujutsu with jujutsu, he pulls out things like the split soul katana.
And that weapon is terrifying because it ignores physical durability entirely.
Right.
It cuts directly at the target's soul, meaning no matter how tough a sorcerer's body is, the blade just slices through them effortlessly.
And then there's his trump card, the inverted spear of heaven.
Oh, yeah, that is a special grade dagger. And its ability is totally game-changing. It completely nullifies any cursed technique it touches.
Wow.
So if a sorcerer relies on an impenetrable magical shield, this dagger forces that magic to short-circuit.
So you have an invisible man who can track you by scent, carrying a blade that turns off your magic, hidden inside a curse in his stomach. This perfectly sets the stage for what the wiki describes as his masterpiece of tactical warfare. The Star Plasma Vessel Escort Mission.
Yeah, this mission is where we see his intellect truly shine. So the wealthy Time Vessel Association hires Toji to assassinate a young girl known as the Star Plasma Vessel.
Seems like an easy payday for him.
It sounds straightforward for a guy like him, but there is a massive complication. She is being escorted by Satoru Gojo.
And for anyone unfamiliar, Satoru Gojo isn't just a strong sorcerer. He is essentially a living god in this universe.
He is the pinnacle of the jujutsu world.
Yeah.
Like Gojo possesses eyes that can perceive the flow of magical energy down to the atomic level.
So you can't sneak up on him normally.
Never. And even worse for an assassin, He has a defensive technique called Limitless.
Okay, explain Limitless, because when I read about it, it sounded genuinely impossible to beat.
It pretty much is. Think of the mathematical paradox of Achilles and the tortoise. Gojo's technique literally brings the concept of infinity into reality. Any attack aimed at him slows down the closer it gets, infinitely dividing the space between the weapon and Gojo's body.
That's wild.
Yeah, you can swing a sword at him all day, and it will just stop in the air millimeters from his skin. You literally cannot touch him.
So, how does the Invisible Man kill an untouchable god?
By not fighting him. Well, at least not at first. Knowing Gojo is untouchable when he's alert, Toji takes the advance money from his clients and does something completely unexpected.
It sets a trap.
Yeah. He goes on an underground website for curse users and places a massive multi-million-dollar bounty on the young girl's head, complete with a strict 48-hour time limit.
It's crowdsourced psychological warfare. I mean, he knows these low-level thugs have absolutely no chance of actually killing Gojo.
That's the beauty of the plan. Killing Gojo wasn't the point of the bounty. The point was exhaustion.
Ah, right.
For days, Gojo and his team are constantly ambushed by greedy mercenaries. They can't sleep. They can't drop their guard for a single second.
Because there's always someone coming.
Exactly. Gojo is forced to keep his limitless defense active around the clock, heavily draining his mental and physical stamina. And Toji, he just waits in the shadows, letting other people's greed do all the heavy lifting.
And he waits for the exact moment the bounty expires. The 48 hours are up, they make it to the safe zone, and Gojo finally exhales. He thinks it's over, so he drops the limitless defense.
And that single moment of relief is what Toji spent millions to buy. Because Toji has zero cursed energy, Gojo's atomic-level perception doesn't sense him approaching. Yeah, Toji slips right past the strongest sorcerer in the world and stabs him through the back with a normal, non-magical sword.
He dismantles the untouchable god, completes the assassination of the girl, and casually secures his money. It is cold, calculated, terrifying perfection.
Which is exactly what makes what happens next so completely baffling.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. Because you're describing a flawless tactical machine, a guy who calculates every variable and only cares about the payout. But the source material explicitly states that in the aftermath of this mission, he deliberately ignored his own exit strategy, deviated from his true self, and lost. Why?
Well, it all comes down to his tragic flaw.
Pride.
Yeah. Toji thought he killed Gojo, but Gojo experiences a near-death awakening. In his final moments, Gojo finally understands the core of his own magic. He heals himself from the brink of death, unlocks the true pinnacle of his powers, and hunts Toji down for a rematch.
And the smart play, like the Toji play, is to run.
Obviously.
The mission is over, the check cleared, there is absolutely no strategic value in fighting an awakened god for free.
And his hyper-refined senses were screaming at him to run, the biological alarm bells were going off, but he refuses to leave.
Why?
You have to remember the psychological foundation we talked about earlier. Standing in front of him is Satoru Gojo, the absolute pinnacle of the Jujutsu world and the living embodiment of everything the Zenin family values.
So he represents the system that threw Toji in the pit.
Precisely. Toji realizes that deep down, he wants to crush Gojo purely for self-affirmation. He wants to prove once and for all that the magicless outcast can slaughter the god of sorcery. He sets aside his strict rule of not working for free, gives in to his petty pride, and it costs him everything.
Yeah.
Gojo hits him with a newly unlocked, devastating technique that essentially hollows out half of Toji's torso.
And as he is bleeding out, we get this incredibly complex look at his relationship with his son, Megumi.
We do.
Because remember, after his wife died, Toji was planning to sell his own toddler to the Zenin Clan. And if you're listening to this and wondering how a father could justify selling his own kid to his abusers, how does the lore actually explain this?
It requires looking at the twisted logic of this universe.
Right.
Toji no Megumi had inherited immense magical potential. He actually named the boy Megumi because it translates to blessings. In Toji's broken worldview, because the Zenin clan values cursed techniques above all else, he genuinely believed selling a highly magical child to them would guarantee the boy wealth, status, and safety.
It's his incredibly damaged version of providing a good future.
It is. But look at his final moment. Gojo stands over him and asks if he has any last words. Toji could have cursed Gojo. He could have cursed the Zenin clan.
What she's been doing his whole life.
Yeah, instead his mind flashes back to his late wife holding their baby. He looks up at Gojo and says, "My son will be sold to the Zenin Clan in a few years. Do what you will with that."
Oh, wow. He's handing Gojo the keys to save the kid.
Exactly. He knows Satoru Gojo as the strongest sorcerer alive, is the single person on Earth who has the political and physical power to step in and stop the Zenin Clan from claiming the boy.
That's brilliant.
In his final breath, Toji abandons his pride, admits he was wrong to sell him, and secures his son's freedom.
It's a shocking moment of humanity for a guy known as the Sorcerer Killer. And you would think that is the definitive end of Toji Fushiguro.
You would think so.
But in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, death is sometimes just a temporary setback. Fast forward in the timeline to a massive citywide conflict known as the Shibuya Incident.
Oh man, this sequence explores the terrifying extreme of the heavenly restriction.
It really does.
So during the chaos, a dark curse user named Granny Ogami uses a seance technique. Normally, this allows her to summon the information of a dead person's soul or body and channel it into a living vessel. In this case, she uses her own grandson as the vessel.
Right, and she specifically chooses to summon Toji's physical body's information, hoping to get a superhuman puppet she can control.
Yeah, but she makes a catastrophic miscalculation regarding the mechanics of his heavenly restriction.
Okay, explain what goes wrong here, because it's wild. How does flesh overpower a magical summoning?
Think of a human being in this universe as a computer, okay?
Okay.
The soul is the operating system, the software. The body is the hardware. Usually the software dictates what the hardware does.
Makes sense.
But Toji's body, because of the heavenly restriction, is a biological anomaly honed to a supernatural extreme. It requires zero cursed energy to function at godlike levels.
So when she downloads Toji's physical hardware into her grandson...
The hardware is so overwhelmingly powerful that it acts like a virus. It completely overpowers and deletes the grandson's spiritual software. Toji's body forcefully overwrites the soul of the vessel.
That is insane. He basically resurrects himself purely through biological dominance.
Pretty much.
But he doesn't come back completely normal, right? Like his eyes turn pitch black.
Yeah, because it's only his body's information. He comes back without his sense of self. He is pure, unadulterated fighting instinct. An apex predator just operating on autopilot.
And he instantly kills Granny Ogami, breaking her control. But because his body doesn't require any magical energy to sustain itself, he doesn't disappear when her technique ends.
No, he doesn't.
He just keeps existing, wandering the battlefield, drawn entirely by instinct to the strongest opponent in the vicinity.
Which leads him straight into the domain of a special grade cursed spirit named Dagon. To put this in perspective, if a grade 2 curse is a silverback gorilla, a special grade curse is a walking natural disaster.
And Dagon is currently slaughtering a group of elite sorcerers.
Yes, including Toji's own cousin, Maki, and a highly skilled grade 1 sorcerer named Nanami. They are fighting for their lives and losing badly.
Until the Invisible Man drops through a hole in the ceiling.
Man, what follows is a massacre that redefines power scaling in this universe. Toji effortlessly steals a special grade weapon from Maki.
Just takes it.
Operating entirely on instinct, moving faster than the eye can track, he makes fighting a natural disaster level curse look like child's play.
It's brutal.
He runs on water, dodges endless swarms of attacks, and brutalizes Dagon until the curse is completely exercised.
He inadvertently saves all the elite sorcerers. But, I mean, because he's just a biological weapon acting on instinct, he doesn't stop.
No.
He immediately turns his sights on the next strongest person in the room, and it just happens to be his son, Megumi.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this confrontation is the emotional climax of Toji's entire character arc.
Yeah.
He drags Megumi out of the building, preparing to slaughter him. Megumi is desperately fighting back, realizing he is completely, hopelessly outmatched by this terrifying ghost.
But right before Toji delivers the killing blow, something shifts in the lore. The pitch black color fades from Toji's eyes.
Right. In the presence of his son, he regains just enough of his own soul, his own conscious identity, to stop the attack.
He pauses, looks at the terrified teenager, and asks him one question: "What's your name?"
And Megumi, who has no idea this man is his resurrected father, answers, "Fushiguro."
He doesn't say Zenin, he says Fushiguro.
Not Zenin, huh? Good for you.
Those are his final words. He hears that his son successfully escaped the abusive clan. And then Toji takes his own weapon and impales his own head, actively choosing to kill himself rather than let his monster instinct harm his boy.
It is a stunning, tragic moment of clarity.
It's profound poetic justice, really. He spent his entire life violently trying to destroy the Zenin legacy that ruined him. Yet his final moment of genuine peace isn't found in violence at all.
No, it's not.
It's found in the realization that his son is free.
It ties up the thematic core of who he is perfectly. And, looking at it from a broader perspective, beyond just the anime lore, Toji's story is a stark reminder of the dangers of exclusive elitist systems.
For sure.
When a society, like the Zenin Clan, violently rejects its own people simply because they don't fit a highly specific, arbitrary mold of value, they are playing an incredibly dangerous game.
Definitely.
They risk creating the very monsters that will eventually tear that entire society to the ground.
Toji didn't just break their rules, he proved their rules were a joke. He was a masterclass in character design. A villain born out of systemic abuse who took the ultimate deficit and turned it into a weapon that terrified gods.
Yeah.
He was destroyed by his own pride, but ultimately redeemed by the lingering love he had for his kid. He truly drained the pool. But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought based on the mechanics we've explored today.
Let's hear it.
So, we know Toji's heavenly restriction is what erased his cursed energy in exchange for this physical godhood, right? It made his body so powerful it could literally override a soul.
Right.
But the fandom wiki sources explicitly define heavenly restrictions as a binding vow. Now, a newborn baby cannot consciously make a magical vow.
That's true.
So if Toji didn't make this deal himself, who or what places a heavenly restriction on a child at birth? Does the universe itself have a consciousness trying to balance the scales?
That is a very good question.
And more terrifyingly, if a human body can be engineered to be completely immune to curses, to slip through magical barriers undetected, and to biologically override souls, could this process ever be intentionally replicated?
Oh, that's a scary thought.
Could someone in the jujutsu world reverse engineer Toji's suffering to artificially mass produce an unstoppable magic immune army? Something for you to chew on until next time.